Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Picote Xpress Coating System webinar. We're absolutely delighted to be able to have a live demo from our training centre in Porvoo, Finland. You can see Kimo over there. Hi, Kimo.
Hello.
Getting ready to take us through everything. And Miko will be joining him as well. And we're very excited because obviously last time we attempted to do the live webinar, we had a few technical problems getting through to the team in Finland. That's all been resolved, and I'm delighted that we can do this today. So what we're going to do is Richard's going to tell us a little bit about the system, and then we're going to have that live demo so you can see it for yourself, which is always the best. If you do have any questions at all about the system, please pop them into the Q&A there. You can see the button on your screen. And at the end, we'll be delighted to take your questions and hopefully answer them to your satisfaction. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand you over to Richard. I'm really excited, totally pumped to tell you all about the Express Coating System. Take it away, Richard. Thank you.
Okay, so for the people that attended the last call, the last webinar we tried to do, I worked through the presentation. Today, well, I'm just going to whilst you're watching them set up, I'm going to just talk through the system itself. It's obviously we're here with our new Xpress pump. It does coat pipes from currently from 50 millimeters up to 300 millimeters. We are producing a small hose kit for the 32 mil to 50 mil pipe work. Overall length, it coats 40 meters. We've got a new rapid curing resin. The pump itself, the resin we're using is a 1-to-1 mix ratio. So we have the resin and then we have the activator. We pump through the hoses, and like I said, we've got the hose reel, which you can just see in the bottom right hand corner, and that has 40 meters of hose on it. Oh, that's brilliant. The actual pump itself, we have heated cylinders on the resin delivery side. We have a heating jacket around the hoses, and we can vary the temperature up to a maximum of 50 degrees centigrade. So we can actually warm the resin up before we start pumping it. Those that are familiar with our existing system, where we have resin cartridges and we mix the resin and then we pump the mixed resin down to the brush head. On this system, we've taken out all the waste, so we've got the pump and we pump the resin and the activator down two separate hoses to the point of application, and then on the end of that we have a static mixer that Kimo's just picked up in his hand. So that's the static mixer. So we're not pumping mixed resin, we're actually pumping the resin and the hardener, right? It gets pushed through the static mixer and then it drops, and then it runs naturally behind the coating brushes. So once we've got the pump set up and we've got it balanced, we have very little waste of resin. Like I said, just a little bit there. The pump itself weighs 100 kilograms, and the hose reel weighs up to 50 kilograms. On the back of the unit, we have tri-wheels, so it helps you lift the system up and down stairs. And the whole system itself is battery powered. So we don't need to have electricity. We can plug the machine in overnight to charge the batteries, but not only that, we can have the heaters running as well. So when you get to site, when you're ready to use the machine, the resin is at the correct temperature already. Sorry, I'm just double checking. So it's a 1-to-1 mix ratio. We apply it in coats of 1 millimeter thick. The cure time between coats is somewhere between 1 to 1.5 hours, depending on cure time. Full return to service is 3 hours. The resin itself, once you've opened the tins, the resins have a shelf life of 2 years. As I said, it's a mixed ratio of 1 to 1. A quick review really of the cost savings. So compared to our existing DC 1000D resin, the cure time's about 75% quicker. We're putting it on 25% thicker in thickness, so therefore we're reducing the amount of resin you use. The primed hose reel, Ryan in the States has worked out that that's going to save at least 20 minutes per coat. The resin itself, because it's a 1-to-1 mixed ratio, is 28% cheaper. And because, more importantly, because we're pumping the two components all the way down to the static mixer, when you start pumping, then you've got resin delivery at the point. So we're not waiting the long time where we do with the existing system, where we have to pump the resin and we can take 15 to 20 minutes to pump the mixed resin down to the brushes. We're there nearly instantaneously. So again, that's going to save, there's no resin delivery hose, no waste of resin with the new system. So we've worked out, certainly Ryan's worked out in the States, that on the projects that he's been involved in, that's at least saving at least 27 hours of labour on each project. So it's more efficient, it's quicker, it's cheaper resin, and we're saving on labour as well. So I can see Kimmo's all ready to go.
All right, so I'm Kimmo from Picote. Nice to have you here. I will go through some technical details of the pump, and then we do some small coating job here. So starting from the pump itself. So now we are on the low position, so the cylinders of the pump is empty. Here we have the safety door. So when this express pump is moving up and down, the safety door will prevent user to getting their hands in here, where's the moving parts. When the door is open, the machine is not going to operate. Here we have the resin containers, so we have the base and the catalyst. And the resin is added by opening the container, and then I can pour the resin in here, like the base, and then we have the hardener. And now I already have filled these containers. So the resin comes in buckets like this. And containers are filled. And now I want to fill the pump. So what I need to do, of course, I close the door. I open the valves. So one thing I forgot to mention, we have a screen here, LCD screen. So it tells me what to do. And I want to, for example, now I'm filling the cylinders. I open the valves. Then I close the door. Here I have a remote control for the pump. And I can start and stop the pump from here. And now I want to suck the cylinders full of resin. So here I go to the coating, filling mode. So I have this switch in up position. It says filling. And now the LCD screen is saying connect hoses, open lead plugs. And that is done. So I can press the check button and open valve. So now I start to fill the pump from these containers. So I press the button, and now slowly the machine is filling up the cylinders down below here. And here we have the heating for the cylinders down below, and then the heating blanket under the reel. And the heating is important with this system, that you get the resin out when you are doing work in a cold environment. Also in the remote, we have a speed setting for the pump. So I can control the speed or the resin flow while I'm coating if I need to have more resin. Also, there is instructions on the QR code. You can scan it, and we have this state, how much resin do we have. So it goes from 0 to 100, and there is more in the manual how this is calculated. But now I'm already on the 45% full, because we started from the empty and it goes up. Also on the remote, we have emergency stop and the hose retraction. And this works that when I want to reel the hoses back to the reel, it's motorized, and I can operate the hose reel with this button. So now we go up and fill the cylinders, and we are almost there. So just bear with me. Yep. And about the emergency stops, we have one on the remote, one on the machine, and one on the hose reel. And also, yeah, the door has the emergency switch. So if the door is open, the system is not working. So now we are on the up position. The machine again tells me we are on the up position. I need to release the start button. And now basically the pump is ready to go for the coating. So I just attach the coating hose, the static mixer, I'm good to go. But we can still go over some features of the pump. So we leave this now here, and we can go to the hose reel. So the hose reel is connected to the pumps with these hydraulic connectors. So when the hose reel is taking off, the connector automatically seal itself, and the resin is not going to leak from the pump or the resin, the hose reel. And the connectors can't be mixed up, so they only go in one way. And on the hose reel here, we have the heating blanket. So we have the hoses heated up, and here we have, for example, this is the locking for the hose reel retraction. So we are just going to remove this blanket for the coating demo. So we get it out of the way. So when we do the actual coating and I have all this extra hose, I can really back into the reel with the motor on the hose reel. So then I tighten this knob to lock the hose reel, and then from the remote control I can unwind the hose reel. To make the hose go back to the reel. And the other way, when I want to take the hoses out, it's manual, so I have to pull the hoses away from the reel. And here we also have the thermostat for the heating blanket. And now it doesn't say anything because I just removed the heating blanket. And the speed of retraction is adjustable from here. And yeah, we have 40 meters of hoses in this hose reel. And as Richard told earlier, we are going to get the smaller hose reel for small diameter pipes. Also, when operating the pump, and we can store the resin inside the hose reel, for example, for long periods of time. So we never lose the resin what is in the coating hoses. So that's, for example, we can do this recirculation. So when it sits in the hoses for long period of time, we can circulate the resin, the base and the hardener, or the base and the catalyst through the machine by connecting the coating hoses to the containers. And we have these sacrificial hoses on the top of the machine, and the static mixer is connected to those. So now I'm going to remove those, and we can then proceed to the coating demo. So first I will build up my brush setting. So this is the only thing what you lose between the coats is the static mixer part. So I will install it to my mini miller's 8mm shaft, and I have two brushes for this job. And still I have all the time in the world, the resin is not being mixed or it's not hardening, so I can take my time, and next I'll just adjust my camera for the setup. So just add it behind the brushes.
So while he's doing, Kimo's just setting this up. We have, as you can see there, we've got two coating brushes. And that's the size of the coating brushes depend on obviously the pipe diameter. And what we have is we'll change the diameter of the brushes depending whether or not we're running in a straight pipe or whether we've got a pipe with multiple bends on. And it's the brushes are connected to the mini miller. So and we use the mini miller in this instance to rotate the brushes, because obviously as the shaft rotates, the brushes are on the fastened to the shaft. And we always make sure the camera then is just behind, so we can see exactly the tips of the brushes when it's inside the pipe. And the idea is that once we start mixing, pumping the resin, within seconds it comes out through the static mixer, and it runs onto the inside of the pipe, and then we spin the brushes up and apply the resin to the inside of the pipe. Kimo's talked about the hose reel, and it's got a drive system on there. We only use the drive to run the hoses back onto the drum once we finish coating. Whilst we're coating, the operator, you'll see Kimo, will be slowly pulling the brushes back through the pipe. And what he's looking for with the CCTV camera is that we have a ring of liquid resin on the tips of the brushes. And if you pull back at the right speed and you watch with the camera, we should finish with a coating thickness of 1 millimeter. When we're coating, as we pull in the brushes out of the pipe, we have them spinning. What you'll see is he'll do about 1 meter, and then he'll stop the brushes from spinning, and he'll push the hose assembly back in down the pipe to check that it's got the right thickness. And that's done visually by looking at the grooves left in the resin as the brushes come pushed back down. So when you're coating, when we're going into the pipe, the brushes are stationary. As we pull back out the pipe, we have them spinning. Now he's just starting to set up now. He's got the camera and everything ready. What he's going to do now is take the 2 hoses, trying not to get resin anywhere. And when he's ready, he'll have a small bucket, and what he'll do is he'll start the pump running, and he's looking for a nice steady flow of resin before he attaches it to the static mixer.
And still, I don't need to start the top yet, so I only have the static mixer connected and everything is set up. So again, the resin mixes up in the static mixer. I can still prepare my setup. So
he's now applying some tape to hold the system together. So when he pushes in and pulls out, everything moves at the same time.
And now I'm starting to use the pump. So I close the base, and this pressure is going to increase first. So when I see the pressure increase from the gate, I just flip the catalyst valve closed, and then the resin starts to go through the static mixer. And when we see the even gray color, we are good to go for the coating job. And now we should be getting the resin. As you can see, the resin is flowing to the bucket. And I just drip a little bit to get the even color. Now I turn off the pump, and we can proceed to the pipe coating.
So Richard, this is just one color, isn't it? This new resin.
Yes, so we've got black and white, so it comes out as a grey. When it's mixed properly, we get a nice colour grey. The old resin, we used to have white resin and grey resin. What we find with the new system, it's a 1-to-1 mix ratio. So once it's cured, when you go to put the second coat on, as the resin comes through and we're mixing it, and before it gets cured, it comes out a lighter colour. So you can see where you're going to. Once you've coated the pipes, as the resin cures, it goes to a darker colour. So even though it's grey on grey, we can actually see, or the operator can actually see, where the thickness of the coating and where he's coated the pipe already.
So now I start the pump, and hopefully we are yeah, so now we're mitä voi olla mahdollista. So yeah, we have some technical issues with the miller. Miten voi olla se? So yeah, as you can see here, well, now it's always in the demos you have some problems, but not with the pump. It was with the miller. So, but here we started to coat the pipe, and then you'll see the gray, like a bead of resin is spinning in the process, and then you coat. Slowly pull the process out and coat the pipe. I don't know, Richard, do you remember better how many millimeters you get per one layer?
So we get 1 millimeter. If we apply it correctly, you'll get 1 millimeter thick coating per layer. We normally say a minimum of 2 coats if you are using, or if you're coating the pipe to give it some corrosion resistance. So if it's a metal pipe, it starts to corrode, we'll apply 2 coats. If you're working in an area or a pipeline that has an abrasive solution, so it's got grit or sand in the solution that's being pumped, then we'll apply 3 coats. And if it's a pipe that could be later on subjected to high pressure water jetting, then we say a minimum of 4 coats.
So what we are going to do now, sorry to interrupt you, Richard, but we just changed the miller, because the miller is fine, the pump is fine, but the shaft came off from the motor. So just
so like I said, if you notice, we've been using the old resin system, then we would have been panicking like anything. With this one, because we're mixing at the end, then we're quite happy to take a bit of time, disconnecting the shaft, and we're going to just bring in another mini miller in. So it'll be a couple of minutes. Working time with this resin is between 20 to 30 minutes, depending on ambient temperatures and the temperature of the resin. Like I said, we can adjust the heaters on the rig. We can adjust the heaters on the rig for cold temperature working. The beauty about this pump as well is if you're doing vertical pipes and buildings, you can take the pump up to as far as you can do, but without putting it on the roof, and then we can run the hoses through an access point and then across the roof to where we're coating. I think we've got about a 10-meter length for the remote control, but that can be extended if required. And there we go, we're nearly ready again. We do mount the brushes on what we call the leader. So any resin that gets into the system, and we get a build for resin on the leader, we can just replace the leader instead of having to keep cutting back the outer casing and trimming the steel shaft. And because the brushes are on the leader, we get less waste as well. And it means that Chemo can very carefully fit a new miller onto the system.
All right, we are almost good to go.
It's like we planned this, isn't it? It's like we planned it.
Yeah.
Last time
never like this in reality. It's only like when we do that.
Yeah. Well, the last demo you did for me, you damaged the CCTV camera.
Alrighty, so we are good to go. I just grabbed the remote and we continue with the coating. Kuvaatko vähän kameraa? Kuvaa tätä putken päätä. So it's a bit difficult to tell from the picture here, but we have quite a lot of resin on the pipe. So, and yeah, it's done. It's only like a small example for this webinar, like 1 meter, but yeah, so that's now finished. So to clean the process, I'll dip into acetone and spin the miller machine to clean the process, and then we can go with that. So yeah, so the next is the cleaning the machine, and it's also really fast to do. So only, again, part I'm missing is going to be the static mixer.
So once they've removed the static mixer, clean the brushes up, but if we've got another pipe to do, we can literally use those brushes on the next coating if it's close by. If not, we literally remove the static mixer, remove the leader with the brushes on, fit the clean brushes on another leader, go to the next point, and literally we're ready to start coating again. The only waste is the static mixer, and obviously any resin that's excess in the pipe. It's that simple. Training wise, if we do the training on the Xpress pump can be done at our training center in Sandhurst, in Finland, and in Phoenix, Arizona. If you've already trained on the Picote brush coating system, then it's a 1-day training course just to teach you how to use the pump, how to maintain the pump, etc. If you've never done brush coating before and you want to start with on the Xpress pump, then that'll involve a 2-day training course. Before, if you've come through the Picote training centres, once you've been certified by us, then with both resin systems, you can offer your customer a 10-year guarantee. And there are terms and conditions involved in that, but again, we'll go through those when you come in and do the training. Dawn, have you got anything to add?
No, I think we've covered off quite a lot there. I mean, it's fair to say that normally you wouldn't be wheeling in another miller, but our millers are all really easy to fix in the field generally. So that wouldn't, like the issue that cropped up there is for time we brought in another miller, but that would be something you could fix yourself quite easily in the field. So Richard, the other thing there as well is obviously, like you mentioned earlier, this is providing a thicker layer of resin than the traditional Picote brush coating system. And that means that I assume that you can do less coats then, which means that you're saving even more time and saving money on site as well.
Yeah, what we're finding with this resin as well, it's got built-in flexibility that we don't have with the old resin system. So it's definitely suited for internal pipe work, etc. For coating pipelines that are buried, it's about the same applied thickness as we have with the other system, but we can do it in 1 coat less, depending on the condition of the pipe. It's a semi-structural coating that we're applying, or a corrosion barrier. So yes, but because this goes on, I say it goes on about 1 millimeter thick if it's applied properly.
So what about applications, Richard? Where would this be? I mean, of course, it can be applicable to any pipes of that particular diameter, and the lengths that we can do are limited by, but where would you see this being used the most?
Where it comes into its own really is if we're doing vertical pipes in buildings, because the beauty is that the coating system, when you apply it, if you brush coat over a junction or a connection, it throws a bit of resin up the junction, up in the pipe. It doesn't block the junction like we would do if you'd installed a cured in place pipe. So you don't have to do any reinstatements.
Which means you
and
don't need to
portable.
access those apartments or offices as well. If, for example, it's a multi-story building.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. But like I said, we use it semi-structural or we use it as a corrosion barrier. The beauty is that's the waste as Chemo's got. That's the only bit of waste that we have in the system is the static mixer. And the other thing is the resin system we use is 40% cheaper than the resin that's in a cartridge. And we have no resin delivery hose. We don't have any waste there at all.
And actually, on the Q&A, Vito's just asked, what's the cost per foot for the resin installation? I do believe that there will be the resin calculator available very soon, Richard. Is that correct?
Yes. We've been working on it last week.
So everyone will be able to calculate that for themselves. But what we'll do is when that is available, of course, it goes then on the Picote Institute, but we can also send all the details to people who've been on this live webinar as well. So that's something, Steph, if you could maybe help everyone with that. There's another question here. So much chemicals? So what is it? Does that mean the mix ratio or?
No, I think what we use is a 100% solid epoxy resin. Right, so we have no VOCs in there, no nasty chemicals, compared to other coating systems and lining and resin systems. So it's 100% solid epoxies. We have no shrinkage. We have no volatile organic compounds in there. It's a 1-to-1 mix ratio. It's coming in the tins, so we're saving costs because the old system came in cartridges.
And it is actually a very strong resin as well, isn't it, Richard?
Yes, it's strong and flexible, is what I get from the manufacturer.
Yeah. And how many meters of 4-inch pipe can be covered?
That is a good question, that is.
Again, that's one for the resin calculator, I'm sure.
It's between 3 to 4 meters. And I can't remember which that is. Let me try and open up the resin calculator. Just keep talking to yourself while I can remember where I've put it.
Well, we could be waiting a while for that one. Does anyone have any other questions for Richard or the team in Finland? So really, I would say that anyone who has already placed their order for the system or is thinking about doing it, the number one thing would also be to now start booking in your training for this. So even when you've had the training before, like Richard said, you don't need so much. It's a little bit more like a top up with the new system, but it's still worthwhile booking in that training and it's going to become very busy on the training front. So I really suggest that you talk with your reseller, talk with Picote, and we can also arrange for that as well. Especially important when you want to be able to offer the certification along with that.
So we use in a 4-inch pipe, 100 mil pipe, 2 coats. We're looking at about 56 milliliters, which is quite a small amount.
So like I say, once that calculator has been finalised, which the pumps are going to start shipping out now, so we will send that information out to everyone as well, and you can calculate for yourself based on the pipe diameter how much materials you'll need, and of course then you can calculate the cost of it. You can get all the pricing information from any of our Picote partners, so please talk to your reseller and they'll be able to help you with that. So
yes, with this resin, so with this resin system, because we're using tanks of resin, it's not as important to with the resin calculator. Before you had to work out how many cartridges you needed per job, whereas now we are actually obviously supplying the resin in bigger bulk quantities. So I think from memory, it's about 22 litres of resin from memory in one of the larger tins, and it's 2.2 litres per stroke.
thanks, Richard. So yeah, Steph's very kindly put in the group chat, if you consider, if you're not sure who your local reseller is, Steph has put that information up there on the meeting chat, which is a link to picotegroup.com, where you can find information about this and also about our resellers and where they're located as well. Does anyone have any other questions about the system? Obviously, you know, in a lot of ways it is similar in application to the existing Picote system, but you are, you know, having significant savings like Richard spoke earlier. So because of that 1 hour cure time, it's 75% faster than our previous system. The resin is thicker, so you're talking about approximately 25% less coats needed than before. And also, like Richard mentioned, it's around 30 to 40% less in terms of actual resin cost as well. And all of these things, of course, combine for, you know, less time means less labour and all of those things. So it's a lot faster and more efficient than what we already have. Steph's just put in the chat there as well that she can send the resin calculator directly to your inbox when it's available. You can email Steph, or she can, if you don't mind, use your details you've registered with, and she can send that out to you when it becomes available. So I'd like to thank the team in Finland. Thank you very much, Kimmo and Mikko. Always wonderful to see you.
Yeah, thank you, and have a nice day.
Thanks, Kimmo. We've such a great team there. We've got such a great team in Santa Sand in Arizona in the US as well. Those are where our training centres are located, but we can also come to your customer location too. So please reach out and we'd be more than happy to help. So if we don't have any further questions, I'd also like to thank Richard for all of your valuable information about the new system today. And what I would like to say is that we're going to have another webinar, because you can never have too many webinars about Picote. And we'd like to just take you through the battery millers, because the battery millers are real little powerhouses, and we would like to explain further the difference between the battery millers and the more traditional millers. That will take place on Thursday, the 18th of January at 3 p.m. GMT. We will send out some reminders about that too. And we've got a registration link already, which I believe Steph is going to put up there. We do have a page on our website dedicated to webinars as well. So you can also find from that previous webinars and links to the YouTube videos of them. So with that, I would like to say thank you very much for your attendance today. If you do think of anything afterwards that you would like to ask the team, please reach out. All of you probably know our details already, but if you're not 100% sure, again, you can visit picotegroup.com, where you will find everyone on this call, you'll find our details, my details, Richard's details, Chemo, Steph, everyone. Reach out to any one of us or reach out to your Picote partner, and we'd be more than happy to help you. So have wonderful holidays, everyone, and have a fantastic new year. And we'll look forward to seeing everyone again on the 18th of January at 3 p.m. GMT for our Battery Miller webinar. Thank you for your attention. Have a lovely day.